Hello, good evening, and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How is everybody tonight? I hope you're all well. Hope you've had a good start to your week. So then, you join us once again for another role-playing game deep dive. But which game are we taking a look at this evening? We are going to explore Fabula Ultima, the TTJ RPG from Need Games. I took this away with me on holiday and thoroughly enjoyed my read, so I'm very much looking forward to sharing it with you this evening. Let's say hello to those in the chat at the moment. Hello Roga and hello Mystical, welcome both of you. Thank you for joining us tonight. So as we typically do with one of these deep dives, I am no role-playing game expert. I played RPGs back in my college days and then of course took a very long break because work and life got in the way. But now I am coming back to them. I am rediscovering, and of course the landscape has massively changed since I last played, and I am finding out all about different styles of role-playing games that are available out there. So if you do have any questions during tonight's show, or indeed following the show, then leave a comment in the chat and we will try and take a look and answer it for you. Mystical, are you all set and ready to join me tonight? Yes, all right, let's bring you on in then. Good evening. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, very well. Right, shall we jump straight to it?
Yes.
All
right,
right,
I'm so excited.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I am as well. But before we go to the digital version of the book, let's take a look at the physical copy that I have in front of me. So here we are. It is a soft-covered book with a dust cover to it. It is some, well, down to the index, 357 pages. I mean, we'll take obviously a closer look when we switch to the digital version, but as you can already see, the layout of this game is brilliant. It is so clean, which I really appreciate. And I was actually talking to somebody following on social media. I actually took this away with me, as I say, on holiday, and because of its size and weight, it was perfect just to throw in a backpack. It was great to have an entire role-playing game to take away with me, not to sort of weigh me down. This was ideal. So I really appreciated that, and I wonder how many more role-play games you can get in this sort of smaller size, because I think this is really cool. So yeah, production quality throughout the book is really good, but we'll take a closer look at that when we switch to the digital version. So let's see if I can make that happen. Hopefully I can. There we go. All right, I'm just going to move things around a little bit. So you've been taking a look recently. What's your initial impression? Though I think we already kind of know because of the giddiness as soon as we started.
Am I that obvious? Oh no, it's such a fabulous RPG. It's just, there's so much to explore with it.
It's Fabula. It's Fabula for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, no, it certainly is, isn't it? All right, excellent. Well, let's dive on in. Straight away, of course, we've got this beautiful cover artwork which of course is very evocative of the theme. For those, I suppose we kind of got to just answer the obvious sort of question here first and foremost. So let's just jump on in. I will just say before we do, table of contents, this is everything, which nicely is presented just on 2 pages. It's very, very clear, very easy for you to find a section that you're after, which is really good, handy. And so we jump to the introduction. And of course, here we go. JRPG, which of course is Japanese role-playing game. So this entire game is inspired by Japanese role-playing games. Of course, I suppose the most famous of those being Final Fantasy. Mystical, which Japanese role-playing games have you played? Let's start with that.
Final Fantasy.
Yeah, well, no, that's the main one, isn't it? Yeah, I think most people. Now, is that a relatively new version of Final Fantasy, or do you go further back than that? Have you gone to some of the older versions of the game?
I've never played the newer ones. I've only played the older ones.
Okay. So, which I'm going to put you on the spot here. Which number Final Fantasy?
Oh gosh, I think the last one I played was 5.
Okay, right. So you are going back then, yes. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like way back. Because it's what, like 14 now?
It is, and I think I hope I'm right in this. The designer talks about, I believe it's Final Fantasy X back in 2001, and that seems to be the pivotal one that, you know, most gamers, if they're going to talk about Final Fantasy, is probably going to be that one. But I don't know about you, but when I started reading this game, I actually went further back. I went back to JRPGs in the, I suppose, late 80s, early 90s. I went back to 8-bit and 16-bit video games because I thought, oh my goodness, that's just so cool within this sort of style of having these wonderful 2D graphics, all pixelated. That's what sprang to mind for me, not modern JRPGs. What about you then? So was it Final Fantasy that was came to mind as soon as you started reading?
Yeah, it was that, and I'm pretty sure it would be considered along the same lines. It's not a like a TTRPG or anything. It is a video game, but Kingdom Hearts also came because that was very much what I played, and I was like, this is just like a melding of the two. It's so great.
Yes, indeed. Yes, Kingdom Hearts,
I was
of course.
so excited. Yes. Oh, I love it so much.
We're just going to say good evening, Augie. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We are just starting our look at Fabula Ultima, a TTJ RPG. So now this is the thing, isn't it? That we've added a few extra letters here. So we do have, and I think it is slightly different, but they've coined a phrase here. I believe it's Table Talk Japanese role-playing game is what the TTJ RPG stands for. But of course, I suppose I instantly read it as tabletop, which I guess both are applicable. So there you go. Yes, it does actually explain it. There we go. Let's take a look. So, Table Talk role-playing game. And so for anybody who is new to role-playing in general, the game is very, very helpful in that regard. I don't know if you picked up on that, on how much it explains the player's roles, the games master's roles, and then all the helpful elements for the games master of how to then run the actual game. I found that really, really great to help new games masters, because, you know, that essentially will be me, hopefully at some point, and I need all the help I can get. So I found this book very, very helpful in that regard.
I thought that was something that was really like different, because you don't often see it put the way that they've laid it out in a lot of RPGs. So I thought that was just having all there, like, here's all your information on how to help if you're a player or if you're a GM or anything. Normally it's separated into sections, so having that all in one place is really nice.
Yes, I think I sort of commented on that right at the start, that the design, the layout of the game is really stellar. It's really, really good. Okay, and so it jumps then to, well, what is this game all about? And so these are some sort of key points here. Heroic and fantastic action. A game of heroes and villains. Heroic destiny. Challenging battles. And your world. And I thought that that last part, of course, was very, very interesting. That Fabula Ultima has no default or canonical world, and that's on purpose. Your group will collaboratively create a custom world in which your tales will take place. That said, the world and the characters you create must adhere to 8 core principles known as the 8 pillars. So let's take a look at these, because these, in essence, summarize and encapsulate everything that makes up JRPGs. And not necessarily all of them are present in all games, but you know, you can sort of take elements and go, okay, yes, I've seen that in other games. So let's take a look. Ancient ruins and harsh lands. The world is an ancient and dangerous place. Cities and villages are separated by vast plains, scorching deserts, frozen peaks, and impenetrable forests. So this absolutely made me think of those, you know, like I say, those 8 and 16-bit games where you move your little character along endless number of screens, hoping to then try and find a little village to interact with. And then, of course, it zooms down to sort of village level, doesn't it? I think this would be early Final Fantasy games, you know, the 1s, 2s, 3s and 4s, I guess.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. A world in peril. Villages, castles and city-states are among the few areas that aren't literally crawling with monsters, brigands and hostile creatures. Of course, this lends itself to the grind, the grind of JRPGs, going out into the wilderness and just killing creatures aplenty for all that lovely, lovely XP and loot, yeah? And that is an absolute pillar of all sort of Eastern-based video games. Because, of course, I played a fair number of MMO RPGs in my time, and it's all about the grind, isn't it?
Almost like annoyingly so.
Yes. Well, again, I suppose that is a distinct difference between East and West here, isn't it? That the Eastern games are all about the grind, all about leveling up and acquiring the best armors, the best weapons, etc., etc. And possibly, I mean, they obviously have changed over the time, but it was less about story and it was more about the level of your character and how well you've done within the game world. Whereas Western RPGs focus more on the story elements. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, as you said, they have evolved some, but they're still very much modern games that will go back, and the story is, you can absolutely see it is second to the grinding and to just combat. But I think that's because that's just what this culture is.
Yes. It's a cultural difference, isn't it?
So,
yes. No, absolutely. Okay, clashing communities. The world may be in danger, but its inhabitants are still divided by ancient grudges, religious schisms, memories of war crimes, and a conflict between magic and science. I think the magic and science one is definitely something that I've experienced in some games. Everything has a soul. All matter that forms the world, including its creatures, the earth, sky, sun and stars, are part of a vast flow of spiritual energy. And that's very in point with the theme, isn't it? Whenever you kill a creature, there's always that wisp of energy that comes on out of it as you claim that XP for your sort of kill, yeah?
And science is just magic that we've figured out, that's all.
Yes, exactly. So here we go, magic and technology. In every Fabula Ultima world, science and magic represent two different ways of studying and manipulating reality. One concerns itself with the tangible nature of matter, the other with the souls that dwell within it. Two sides of the same coin. We then have heroes of many sizes and shapes. Fabula Ultima's protagonists are full-fledged heroes, extraordinary individuals that possess unique abilities and whose actions will shape the fate of the world. I mean, that's the thing, is again, because it's a video game, you are instantly the hero, aren't you? There's this great quest, whatever it might be, has been placed before you, and it's for you now to basically take on the challenge. And then there it goes. It's all about the heroes. Any relevant event in a game of Fabula Ultima is tied to the heroes, either directly or indirectly. Dramatic plot twists shall happen when the protagonists are present on the scene, and the great powers and evils of the world shall pay them special attention. And then
I mean, it says something about me that I very much want to run this, but alter it so that the heroes that you play are villains to other people.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an absolute twist, isn't it? But then that's always the case, isn't it? Is that no villain thinks themselves as the villain of the story.
Exactly, and you play in all of these, you play a hero going around, but just because you see yourself as a hero does not mean everyone does.
Yes.
So I love that in RPGs. I'm just I just want everyone to I want to see it from the opposite side where the heroes look like villains.
Interesting. It do. I think it does have an element of this. I think we might refer back to that. But the final part here, the final pillar, is mystery, discovery, and growth. The game is built upon discovery of ancient mysteries and forgotten powers, but most of all of the heroes themselves, their feelings and what they are willing to do in order to fight against darkness. Fabula Ultima's protagonists are complex and sometimes tragic figures, and their journey will change them forever. Okay, so we have those 8 pillars that are our sort of guiding lights on how our game should be. But then it does talk about that we are creating the world, and our world is for us to shape as players during, I suppose, our session 0. And it can be one of 3 types of world. The first being high fantasy. Great castles whose crystal spires reach the sky, fleets of ornate airships emerging from the clouds, vast stretches of enchanted forests, and ancient sprawling ruins brimming with magic golems and powerful artifacts. A high fantasy world is an ancient, ageless classic and a perfect fit for your Fabula Ultima story. And again, it just gives you a bit of an idea of the types of themes and the protagonists, the types of locations, what the magic might be like, and antagonists. And again, I like some of here. The princess who lost her kingdom to the antagonist's army. Is that I'm sure that would play into a Zelda game at some point for its long history.
Sure. For sure. And even Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
Because when you think about that game, this whole, I love it. So my favorite one though is, I think it's the next page.
Oh, okay. Let's jump to the next one then. So we then have natural fantasy. floating amidst a lush expanse of verdant forests, snow-capped mountains, and crystal-clear lakes. Small villages slumber peacefully, coexisting with the beasts and the elemental forces of the wilderness. Underneath it all lie the ruins of mysterious past civilization that once ruled this world of natural fantasy. So why do you like this one? Why does this one speak to you?
So the first one, the daughter of the village chief, that's just straight out Disney right there.
Okay.
First one is Disney. But the witch who knows of a prophecy dating back to the ancestors, that is my favorite one to work off of.
Oh, right,
there's
okay.
so much you can do with it. There's books that are based off of that entire concept, and they are some of my favorite reads. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, I'm sold.
Right.
I'm here. This is me.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think of a game that might have taken this kind of setting. Nothing's jumping to mind at the moment, but again, that's the thing with a lot of these video games, and we've always got to sort of draw back to that, haven't we? Obviously, very, very colourful, very much green landscapes, lots and lots of fields to go through, beautiful imagery. So yes, I can definitely see this, but I'm interested in this whole the ruins of a mysterious past civilization under the surface. That's quite interesting. So I do like that concept. A wandering warrior who mistakenly angered a local spirit. Interesting.
So much you can do with this. So much. Oh.
All right.
The world building.
and then the final one is techno fantasy. So heavy rain falls from polluted clouds, clanking sounds over the brass and steel pipework, spreading from one building to another. Casting its shadow over the rundown districts is the massive shape of an industrial chimney, the factory below draining energy and power from the depths of this techno-fantasy world. And I guess this does lean directly into, I think it is Final Fantasy X. So I can very much imagine this setting straight away. So yes, a scarred hero. Oh, sorry, go on.
For this one, and it must be just because like the techno bit, but because I didn't really play Final Fantasy X, and I've seen it played, but I haven't experienced it a lot. So for me, my mind goes more towards pulling parts from things like Shadowrun and stuff like that to build the world.
Yes, yeah, no, I think that works. The thing is, of course, all of your characters have swords as wide and as tall as the character themselves. Yeah,
Yep.
So you've got to have these massive, impossible to wield blades. In this world.
I just see Cloud now.
Yes, well, that's exactly it. Yes, that's exactly the character I imagined as soon as I was reading this.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 possible game worlds. I think, as you say, you're going for the natural fantasy. All right, so we'll bear that in mind as we progress. So it goes through then, and it's telling us what gaming materials we need, what type of dice. And so in this, it is a spread of dice of 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20-sided dice. So the whole lot. And then just go across. So here we go. If you are a player, here's how you should approach the game. So yes, read the book, gather the tools, create the game world. So this is going to be with you and your fellow players around the table, along with your GM. Choose an archetype for your group. So we will come to that. Create your heroic character. And then cooperate with everybody else. Contribute to the ongoing story. Play as a hero. So, the protagonists of Fabula Ultima are heroes and adventurers, larger-than-life characters with unique abilities and an epic, sometimes tragic destiny. When you play the game, keep this premise in mind. Act heroically. Don't back down from challenges and try to make the world a better place. Sometimes it will make sense for your character to do something you wouldn't. This is part of the beauty of role-playing games, allowing your character to lead you on a journey of discovery. So again, we can't be villainous, but, you know, as I say, villains don't see themselves as being villains. So if they act heroically in their mind, then maybe you could sort of flip it, I suppose. But you're definitely playing as a hero. Play to change and evolve. Your character should be far from a mutable entity. While their past may be complex and tragic, the way they will change and grow during play is far more important. Character evolution lies at the core of the adventure, so embrace it. So is that a nice way for to basically say grind, grind, grind?
Well, I mean, yeah, it is. I'm trying to find some way for it not to be, but it is. It is. It's very grind.
Yeah, but again, as we go through the game, it lends itself to that perfectly, which of course is what all these JRPGs are all about, aren't they? So then that was the player's sort of role. Oh, too far. But then we have a section for the games master. And again, this is just where the book is just so great in just explaining to everybody. If you don't know, if you've never played an RPG before, it's guiding you through. So again, it's much of a similar type of advice. Read the book, gather the tools, follow the rules, take part in the world, group, and character creation. But here we go, separately, breathe life into the game world. Breathe life into your villains. Pay great attention when portraying the main antagonists of the game, and make sure to stay true to their goals and motivations. Of course, cooperate with everybody else. Play to find out what happens. Never force the player's hand, and make sure not to push them towards a specific event. Let their actions and objectives guide you instead. Resist the temptation to create a predetermined plot. Let the hero's choices and actions tell you what aspects of the stories the player really cares about. I found that interesting, and I had an idea about this, and I'll share it as we get to the appropriate section. Ask questions and build on answers, and then look for inspiration. All right. So that's a really good introduction. I feel that's, of all the sort of games that we've looked at, that actually is pretty up there as a great example of how to introduce new players to a game.
For sure, and it doesn't go into too much detail that it's overwhelming in each little section. It's just general synopsis here. This is what you do to do this, to do that. Perfectly done.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. We, of course, get some beautiful artwork, which, of course, just helps you visualize the type of game that you're into playing. So we start then with the game rules. And this section now really helped me. And I think, actually, it's helped me so much that it's helped me in other roleplay games as well, because it's just suddenly, like the penny has dropped a little bit here. So scenes. In order to play the game, you must first understand the concept of scenes. A scene is a segment of gameplay with a beginning and an end, focused around a specific character, obstacle, or conflict. Scenes are an easy way to split the game into manageable time sections and also act as a stage. Characters who are not part of the current scene may not perform any kind of action to affect the story. It is the Games Master's responsibility to declare the beginning and end of each scene, but the players can ask the Games Master to set up specific scenes as well. And it goes through a bit of a flowchart there to show you the flow of a scene. But what I thought was really cool here is we have these scenes sort of split out. We have conflict scenes, So when the hero's goals clash with those of another faction, things can get heated. And so it's now a conflict. We've got a fight, which of course, in games, you meet a monster and it goes to that action fight sequence, doesn't it? The special screen where you've got all of your allies all lined up, taking it in turns to attack the enemies.
Music swells, it gets intense. Yep.
Yeah. We then have interlude scenes. These are moments in the game when the story moves at a slower pace, a trek across the plains, the long descent down a cavern, a night of rest in the town. So this is I suppose the main part of the game, isn't it? Where your little character is a little 16-bit pixelated graphic character, and you're d-padding it along the landscape, maybe with they have a little chain of the followers like a snake working their way around the obstacles.
Oh, I can see this so clearly in my head.
Okay, and then which is quite unique, I suppose, is the Games Master scenes. So if the Games Master wants, they may play a scene in which no player character is present, and in which the players are simply spectators, separate from their characters. These Games Master scenes can be used to foreshadow an event, introduce a future threat, or show a villain in action. They work just like a cutscene in a video game or a pre-titles scene in many movies and TV show episodes. What a great addition. This is really cool. Now, what I thought about with scenes, and I just thought this is a sort of great sort of players, an aid, is actually creating little cards that are essentially the video game screen, because I was thinking back to those 8 and 16-bit games where there was no scrolling. You essentially walked your character either off the top of the screen or off the left or the right or maybe the bottom, and it would then load up the next screen. So as opposed to scenes, it's screens. And each one of these, it depicts a different area. Maybe it's additional forest, or maybe the forest thins out and it goes into a rocky canyon. And to actually have visual sort of cards to basically show, and of course then you're able to have cards that include maybe a little village, because that's what you find there, or maybe this particular card has some adversaries within it. But I like the idea of creating it all in a sort of, an 8-bit, 16-bit style of pixelated graphics. I thought that would really help sort of sell the setting and get people into that old style Mega Drive or SNES experience. That's certainly how I've been visualizing it as I've been reading through.
That would be so cool to put like a map down on the board in that style, and then just you ask them which way do you go, and as they go, then you put down the next card, and it's just that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of games that do that type of thing, and I was thinking you could either do it where it's a predetermined map, so you've actually have worked out the world, or you could do it in a kind of slightly randomized version that there is a whole selection of different cards of different sort of landscapes. Because again, another thing that it mentions in here in regarding to the scenes is that scenes are not necessarily time dependent. So you can go from one scene to the other, and it could be a day's worth of travel. It's kind of not important in this particular game because it's only where the action or where important sort of story points happen. So you traveling, you don't have to travel for a day to get to that location. It just automatically assumes, hey, that's where we are now. So you can jump from forest to desert and assume that weeks of uneventful traveling has gone past.
Absolutely.
So there we go. I thought, yes, again, I've been thinking of lots and lots of different ways of how to sort of portray this, because I've been able to sort of visualize it much easier given my sort of experience, I guess, in playing all of these games on console. So it then tells us a little bit about sessions and campaigns. And again, this is pretty much, what we're used to. A session, of course, is that particular evening or afternoon's play. Multiple scenes make up your session, and then multiple sessions could be part of a campaign, couldn't it? And then we have some important rules, just so we're aware of. So here we go. Timing issues. Sometimes a rule or effect will cause multiple choices or trigger effects to trigger. It'll be important to know who gets to act first. So goes through some little details there. Again, everything's just nicely laid out, easy to read and understand. The anatomy of a character. So we do have character sheets at the back, and of course the digital version has editable PDFs to make it easy for you to fill out. So each character has a total of 3 different traits: their identity, the theme, and origin. So the identity, this is a short sentence that sums up your character's general concept, like Sky Pirate or Queenless Knight. The theme, this is a strong ideal or sentiment that drives your character's actions, such as anger, justice, or ambition. And then origin, this is where your character comes from, their homeland. So while playing, you'll be able to invoke your character's traits to improve your odds when rolling dice. We then also have bonds. Heroes need connections to grow stronger, and bonds represent that. A bond can be tied to one of 3 emotions, each belonging to one of 3 different pairings, as shown on the character sheet. So, admiration or inferiority, loyalty or mistrust, affection or hatred. Fabula points, a powerful currency in the game that will come and go. They can be earned by facing adversities and spent to invoke trait and bonds, as well as fuel a variety of special effects. And then character level, I found this interesting. Your character level is an abstraction indication of their power. Characters generally begin their adventures at level 5, so you've already got some power under your belt. With a level cap of 50, which again, I found that, I know you have level caps in other games, but it's very video gamey, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it is very much so. And then when the expansion comes out, you get 10 more levels.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So he goes, average.
That starting at level 5 though is really nice because especially when you get like one shots in other games, you do tend to start at level 5 or level 7 because that's where things get interesting.
Right. Okay. So on average, you should gain enough experience points to reach a new level at the end of every other session. Okay, so we get an idea of our progression. We then go to classes and skills. So whenever your character gains a level, that level will be put in one of the 15 classes available in this book. It's interesting that they say that these 15 classes in this book. Spoilers, there are other classes to be found. Either to develop an already obtained class or start a new one. Each class grants a variety of skills and abilities, and you choose which ones you want to invest in. Alright, so we will actually have, and again it tells us we can jump, we will have multiple classes to our character. Attributes. Characters' attributes are an abstract representation of their training and aptitudes. We got dexterity for measuring precision, coordination, finesse, and reflexes. Insight for observation, understanding, and reasoning. Might for strength and fortitude. And willpower for determination, charisma, and discipline. Might forms your hit points, and willpower your mind points. And here we go. Each attribute is represented by a die size ranging from a 6-sided dice up to a powerful 12-sided dice. Some effects will temporarily alter your attribute dice size. And it goes on, it tells us about the hit points and mind points and inventory points. So this is interesting. Inventory points are an abstract resource that characters can spend to create consumable items on the spot, such as potions and antidotes. So, of course, typically in a video game, you'd be picking up all the loot that the enemies have dropped, and of course you'd end up with hundreds and hundreds of antidote vials and health potions, which would be a nightmare, wouldn't it, for this style of gaming. But the great thing about it is you just have points and you're just able to instantly spend those points and you've got the antidote that you need, which is great. Equipment and backpack. Character can equip a variety of items, shields, armor, weapons. And they're all stored in your backpack. And then we have the common currency, which is the zenith. And then finally, this little section here. Oh, too far. There we go. Is checks. So this is slightly different than some of the other games that I've taken a look at, but maybe, Mystical, you can say if this is a commonplace. So this is using your 2 attributes to do the check, but this might result in you having different die types, isn't it? So a check is presented as a formula indicating which die you have to roll and add up together. Checks are always required to roll exactly 2 dice. So it gives an example here. This was, I've already forgotten it. It's the insight and willpower. So a character with a D6 insight and a D10 willpower will result in that character rolling the 2 dice and adding them together. So generating results between 2 and 16. But
I guess that really just takes away from rolling just a straight like D20.
Yes, because it does have the critical success is slightly different on the next page. Mm-hmm. This is where I found it was a little bit unique. So when both dice are rolled during a check and show the same number, and that number is 6 or higher, the result is a critical success. So a critical success on a double 6, double 7, but I guess of course it depends on your dice, doesn't it? Because you might have a D6 and a D10, so you're going to be rolling the best you can on your D6 and a kind of a mid-range result on your D10, which I thought was a bit just different.
Yeah, I would have thought that for it to be a critical success, it would have been the highest number on both dice.
Yeah. So it's, I thought that was a bit, strange only so much as I've not sort of seen it before. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
Although doing it that way, though, does make it easier to spot successes. Because if you roll doubles, your mind already goes, hey, look, you think of Monopoly when you rolled doubles, right? Double 6s, double 2, whatever. That was so easy to spot and you looked for it. So knowing like, hey, look for doubles. It doesn't matter what dice you're rolling, as long as look for those and you're going to get a success when you see them.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you get your double, you get a critical success and you get to apply the effects of an opportunity. So there are a variety of opportunities here, which are all advantageous to the players. Unmask, you learn the goals and motivations of a creature of your choice. Affliction. Go on, sorry.
I think my favorite might be faux pas.
Faux pas. Choose a creature present on the scene. They make a compromising statement chosen by the person who controls them. Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's really interesting that, if you get a critical success, there's a lot that you as the player are able to do. So it gives an example of performing an attribute check. Again, lots of examples I've noticed within the game rules here, which is very, very handy. And difficulty levels. So this is what we are rolling against. Determine the difficulty level for a check. 10. So you're ideally getting over 10. A competent person or a very talented one, this is a normal roll. So yeah, you're going to have some decent dice behind you, aren't you? Make sure you get over that 10.
You're going to need to make sure you bless your dice.
Yeah. Okay. So we go through. Oh, have I gone too far? There we go. So checks in play, looking at successes and failures. As we mentioned before, you can invoke a trait. Oh, I've gone too far, haven't I? Have I gone too far? Yes, I have. There we go. Invoke a trait to reroll a dice. We'll be looking at those traits later on, or invoking a bond to improve your check. And then going through all the different types of checks that you could do: accuracy, magic, opposed checks, open checks. Again, you know, this is all quite commonplace, isn't it? There's always a section on all the dice rolls that you might do. But I thought this was interesting because, of course, you've got to sort of, as a games master, have an idea of the combination of those attributes, on which attributes you would use in combination for doing a certain check. So, situation, here we go. Moving silently, hiding and acting unnoticed. That would be a double dexterity check. Whereas avoiding a trap or finding a way to flee a collapsing building would be dexterity, because you need to be moving, but insight, knowing where to move, or seeing the trap before you walk into it. So again, I found that interesting. And maybe it would take a little... Go on.
I think it would be really interesting if more games implemented this type of check system.
All right.
Especially something like D&D, where you have all this type of influence that happens, but you only ever really pick one or the other that you roll for, and you base that off of which one is going to be more predominant, right? So your goal is to do the trap. Even if you're being cautious, you're still just rolling to deal with the trap. You're not looking around, you're not rolling to see whether you see anything else around you. But you would be. That's what your character would do as they were doing this. So I really, really like this system.
I do believe, I think I'm right in saying this, that it is your choice as the player to decide whether, I think it is, let me just double check here. Shared attribute. Place inside one of the attributes involved in each check they perform, while the games master decides the other. So, because there are elements where you could choose the same type of attribute. So, you know, like the moving silently, because it's you're concentrating on it. You're always going to be rolling two attributes, but you could do double of the same attribute to... Obviously, you know, if you're really focused in on this particular test requires precision in my movement, so it is a double dexterity check, isn't it? Because it's all about the dexterity. So yes, it does make sense. And then the other example being the dexterity and insight. You are moving, but you're also being mindful of your surroundings. You're being careful with where you're placing your feet. So, you know, yeah. That's good. I like it. This is a section. We talk about clocks. Are you familiar with this? Because I believe this comes from another designer. That it's a tool that's used in a lot of games, and it is for sort of keeping the pressure on the players, keeping the momentum going. Is this something you've experienced in other games you've played?
I mean. we've used game timers like the hourglass where you flipped, which does the same thing that puts you under pressure and that. But can't say I'm a fan of them.
Right. I guess, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You like with lots of tabletop games, there's an element of procrastination, isn't there? Of like, constant, let talk, and it's like, could be half an hour of talking before anything actually gets done. And it's like, these might be an idea of, keeping the pace going, because it is fast paced, isn't it?
It's not procrastination, it is trauma. It is trauma from the DM.
So,
like, we had it in our recent game for Dark Sun. We had somebody climb a cliff. Well, he fell, and of course, my character was like, should we do this? Is this a good idea to stay here in this area? Because we had just gotten attacked in a similar area. And we spent like 20 minutes discussing it. And he just sits there and lets us do it and then goes, okay, so what are you guys doing?
Right.
But how he'll propel us for stuff like that is he'll roll dice. He'll just start rolling dice. We don't know if he's actually rolling for anything, but he'll start rolling dice. And as soon as we hear that, we're like, oh, no, let's go. Let's get moving. Something's coming.
Yeah, so the way that these clocks fill is you basically fill it with, depending on your successes or your failures. And that, of course, then... as it says here, clocks are a useful tool for tracking the evolving situation and approaching danger or the character's progress with a certain task. So that's interesting. I've never seen that before, but I found it interesting. We have got more details, more rules here. Going on into then the bonds. Yeah, there we go. Bonds are a source of power for our heroes. Bonds can help improve checks or aid allies during group checks. Each bond may feature up to 3 emotions from the following 6. So admiration, inferiority, loyalty, mistrust, affection, or hatred. The 6 emotions are combined into 3 pairings. Okay. It then goes on to conflict scenes. There we go. So this is, as it says here, a conflict scene is a series of back and forth exchanges at a rapid pace. You have no doubt encountered something like this in movies and TV series. Time slows down and the camera zooms in on every single action. So we definitely have seen this, haven't we? In in these video games where we have a special scene.
Oh,
and
yeah,
again,
it's standard. If it doesn't happen, you're like, wait, where is it? Am I in conflict? Am I in battle?
Well, this is how you determine where you are in the game, isn't it? It's one or the other. You're either exploring or you're in conflict. It's simple as that. But
Exactly.
again, another good example of how conflict plays out. Again, the book is very, very helpful in just laying everything out. But I thought this was interesting, and again, it encapsulates the whole video game side of it here, is rounds and turns. So in a conflict with 2 PCs and 3 NPCs where the heroes have seized the initiative, each round will be as follows. You've got a PC turn, NPC, PC, NPC, NPC. So essentially, you take it in turns, don't you? That one player attacks, then the enemies attack, then the next player attacks, and you just keep on going. But it's a case of maybe comboing your different actions. So, it's working out, okay, the first character might attack, then the enemies are going to attack, then the next character does a buff, then the next enemy attacks. Then the third character does a heal all the group, you know, and we just keep on doing that until eventually we wear the adversaries down. And because of the nature of this type of game, space and distances don't really count, because you can attack the creatures with your swords and with your magic and with your ranged weapons. Range doesn't really mean anything, because you're in that special screen, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
So again, that captures it nicely. I mean, it goes through a lot of rules here, which again are all... Oh, I've lost my pointer. There we go. It does explain everything very, very clearly, but of course this is where players and the games master do want to actually sit down and read through this in depth. But I'm going to... I'm actually going to just skip away from this for a second, because I just want to quickly show something that I downloaded, and I'm just going to find myself a point to pause, because there's so many rules here, which is all good, but again, it's all within this section. It ends up talking about inventory points and journey and travels and going into dungeons and magic and spells and rituals. There's a lot. Let me find myself a point. Oh, we'll stop there. We'll stop at equipment, because actually equipment's quite cool. But what I downloaded. Let's see if we can put this up. This is available to download from Drive-Thru RPG. This is an online, I suppose, resource of selling all digital versions of RPGs. And this is free, so if you have an account, you can go and download it right now. And basically, this is I suppose, an introductory learn the rules as you play. And I thought I'd have flicked through this this afternoon. Let's oh, there we go. And it goes through basically how to play the game, but you as a games master and with your players, you are learning the game as you actually play. And I thought this is a great idea. So you basically goes through the setup and tells you about, well, it gives you actually there's 4 characters already pre-designed, but it teaches you a little bit about how you set up your characters. So we have them here. And, oh, too far. And then it starts a little mini adventure. It's a couple of scenes linked together. We won't go into too much detail, but essentially it poses problems for the players. The games master is narrating what's happening. The players are making decisions on how they're going to deal with the obstacles that are before them. And you essentially go through, you learn about your traits and your bonds and actually use them to gain advantages. And then it carries on the story a little bit more. And then we do find out about our main adversary, the enemy, does appear at the end of this little adventure. And we have some low-level sort of adversaries to deal with. We have a friendly NPC to talk with. We have a bit of an interlude, which just progresses the story on a little bit. And then we have our final battle. And I just thought, this is great. Gives us a bit of a conclusion. And that's it. So you can actually download this and start learning and actually playing all at the same time, which is incredibly handy. And then after that, there is a little bit extra. And it just gives you a few more advanced rules, which I thought, just what a great way of sort of communicating the game, making it easy. So even though the rules are easy and nicely laid out, but this is just in bite-size format, which is a great addition.
This is that part of the video game at the very start where you're just, it's like walking you through the tutorial, right?
Exactly.
It's just, here, this is your starting area. When you complete this, then you can leave the starting zone.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. You know, why don't more games do this? You know, learn as you play. And of course, once you've got through this, you want to then go and get the game and actually learn and play and experience the fuller game because you've already got some understanding. But what a great addition. They also, on the Need Games website, they did some little scenarios which were themed around, I think there's one, is it one Valentine's Day, one's Halloween? So you can download those, and whenever I'm not talking, you can actually hear they have an official soundtrack for the games. That's the music that's playing in the background, which again is very, very JRPG evocative. It's all that beautiful music of the nice, for when the nice vistas are being explored. It's nice and melodic, and then of course action-packed whenever you go into a combat sequence, which is really cool. So yeah, they've definitely thought of everything. Let me jump to the equipment page, which is where I'm at. As you can see, there's a lot for you to go through. Dungeons and spells, rituals. There we go. Equipment. So, of course, equipment being a large part, isn't it, of the style of games. But I really, really like, as we go through this, you can kind of see that they start to utilize, in fact, this is probably a better page. Here we go. Just wonderful, 16-bit graphics to depict all of the weapons, and I thought this was great. And of course we've got a whole variety there, haven't we, of basic weapons. And then we have some wonderful artwork then of how they might look. Because I suppose, as much as this is a JRPG, but we've also got that sort of anime element to it, haven't we, as well?
Very much, and it's. I love that they've pulled in like all that video game style, because that's exactly what it looks like in the menu when you would look at it, right? It's really, really cool. It's nice aesthetic.
Yes, no, it's very, very clever, and also, I mean, we'll see it more clearly later on, but just how this is all laid out, it reminds me of the game guides that you used to be able to get in the 90s, which would have all the lists of all the enemies and all the weapons and all the items you would pick up. It's that similar sort of display, which is quite cool.
This is what I do when I get like into a video game, I get invested in it. I make myself a booklet about with all of this, like, this is what I can get, this is, and my friends will laugh at me and be like, but then when we play it, they're like, okay, can you look at your little binder now and tell me what I need? Like, ha! It's not so funny now, is it?
So, once you've got a good grip of all the rules there, we can actually get to the point of press start. And so this chapter contains the rules for starting your Fabula Ultima game. Following pages, you will discover how to create your game world, give your group a core theme, build your own character, and finally begin play with a prologue. So this is session 0. And it tells us elements of how we create the world and characters, tones and themes, rules and challenge, and safety. And then it goes into the actual world creation. And I thought this was quite something, because again, it's just thinking of everything here. Choose a shape for your world. Is it round or flat? Are there regions floating amidst the cloud? Could it be a donut shape? I mean, I've never thought about how I'd create my world in a donut, but why not? I suppose donut shape that's kind of Halo, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, I was gonna say I now want mine to be floating islands, but all of them are donut shaped and they hover above each other, so it's all stacked. So like on super clear days, you can see the bottom of the island above you.
Oh wow.
And like every layer where you are is based off of like class level. So like where in a town you have like the low quarter, the merchant quarter, but in this world it's every layer would be that.
That's quite something. So it's a little bit. Oh gosh, it's a bit of a mix of Halo and sort of Pandora, a little bit, isn't it? For the floating land masses. Interesting, like it. So again, we've got a shape. Then we need to get a map sheet that fits our concept. There was a map on page 106. Let's have a quick scan at that. But of course, it does encourage you to create your own map. We might be doing some of that in the very near future. Then, what is the role of magic and technology? Create major kingdoms and nations. Discuss major historical events. What are the great enigmas and mysteries of the world? And what terrible threat casts a shadow over your world? So there's quite a lot to think about, but the great thing about this is that, this session 0, this is where all the players and the GM come together and you're all creating the world, and there's no sort of wrong answer. It's throw everything into the mix and see what you get, isn't it? And I like that.
It's really cool. It's very, very cool.
But then, if you're maybe struggling a little bit, we have tables. It's always good to have tables, and so this helps you determine the magic and the technology, kingdoms and nations, location names, historical events and mysteries, which is very good. So here we go.
I want magic is inherited. Magic is inherited through bloodline. That's what I'm going with. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep.
See, I looked at airships revolutionized travel and war. That's what I saw.
See, that doesn't surprise me.
But then I looked at monsters are born from the restless souls of the dead. That's a bit dark, isn't it?
Well, is it though? Is it dark?
Maybe in our world we didn't know that. So that maybe that's the link, isn't it? That all these monsters are appearing, but actually it's maybe maybe because our world is intrinsically linked to souls and nature. So the natural progression is that once a person dies in the world, then their soul passes on and they go to the next sort of plane. Yeah. However, there's something that is contaminating this process, and as opposed to them going beyond, they basically come up as monsters within the world. And so it's the hero's quest to basically rid the world of this contamination so that the dead can go on in their correct journey.
Another route, which is where mine went, was that there's no contamination, but when you die, the true nature of your soul is seen, and it's whether you pass peacefully or whether you become a monster, and you have to face that.
Ooh, that's interesting. So maybe in life you were all smiles and everybody loved you, but actually you were a monster inside.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Oh, so good. See, there's so much you can do with this world building. Oh, I love it.
Okay, so we have some location names. Corinth, Koga, Pemble. See, I'm just saying these words, getting them right.
Saying the ones that you can like say properly.
Nara, Roston,
Tartarus.
Yeah, I could say all of those words and everything was fine. We then have historical events, mysteries, and threats. So the monsters are restless and aggressive. An ancient evil is being reborn. Or a dimensional gate opens. So it's all good. It's all good stuff. So then, I
feel like this technology, the advancing technology, that's a little too close to home.
Oh, wait, where's that one?
16.
Technological advancement. Yes.
Yeah.
There's an all-powerful AI.
Yeah.
Roguelikes.
Oh, but that could be really cool.
The destruction of the moon. Oh my gosh, number 8. See, again, so visitors from another world. That's an interesting one. That's a very Western, or I perceive it as a very Western theme. I don't think I've ever seen it in an Eastern setting. That's interesting. I wonder how that would play out. And certainly in our fantasy nature world, that would be different.
Mm-hmm. And number 10 would fit in very well with the whole, when you die, your true nature becomes seen, whether you become a monster or something else.
Yeah. Okay, so we move on then to the group creation. Brought together by fate. So we have to select a group type. So yes, there are different types here. So brought together by fate, we are guardians, we are heroes of the resistance, we are revolutionaries, or we are seekers. We have to decide what would we be.
I go towards seekers. I like the concept of it.
Ah, yes, now I can see why you like that. I like the brought together by fate. I think that's a classic story trope, isn't it? Yeah. That we all just end up together because of circumstances.
Although you could play guardians kind of like oh my gosh, I can't even think of the movie name right now. Indiana Jones, but with Sean Connery.
Oh, Last Crusade.
Yeah, where you're guarding the precious artifact of that, and you've got to stop people from getting it.
Yeah. I like it. Okay, so we've created our group. We then have to create our characters, which of course is typically the most fun part of any role-playing game. And again, nice, simple 8 steps. So we create our character's identity, character's theme, character's origin. We choose 2 or 3 classes and distribute the initial 5 levels among them. We determine the base die size of your character's 4 attributes: dexterity, insight, might, and willpower. Calculate our starting hit points, mind points, inventory points, defense, magic defense, and initiative modifiers. We have a starting budget of 500 zenith to purchase equipment. And then we describe our character, choosing their name and pronouns. So let's have a look then. Create your identity. Some examples here: Royal Knight, Freedom Fighting Brawler, Tormented Veteran, One-Eyed Samurai.
Samurai.
Okay, but let's just go straight on over, because there's always a table. So identity creation tables. Here we go. So you got to choose up to 2, haven't you? And then you got to choose core concept and your adjective. And then there's a little bit of detail. This is great. Shall we roll some dice on this?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Right, let's do that. Okay, let's set this up. So. One more. There it is. Okay, so then what we've got, core concept, which is, let's do that first. So we're going to roll a d6 to do the core concept, and then it's a d20 to decide what we've got. All right, so here we go. That's a 1 and a 12. So section 1 down to 12. We're a smuggler. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. We then have to have an adjective with that. So what type of smuggler are we? It's another 1, and it's a 9. So we are a dashing smuggler. Oh yes. And then we are a dashing smuggler. We just have to roll a d20 on this one. A 7. Dashing smuggler from the High Academy.
Oh.
There we go. So I will do another character. Quickly. We got a 4 and a 4. That makes it easy. You're a student. Student. What type of student are you?
Terrible.
A 3 and a 4. You are the chosen student. Oh, hang on. No, 3. No,
it would be. It'd be former Imperial.
A former Imperial student. We got a smuggler and a former Imperial student. Are we playing the right game here?
I don't think so.
And let's find out. If we get an 8, it's from the moon. We are definitely playing the wrong game. So here we go. A former Imperial student. Oh, it's a 5. In disgrace.
Oh, so close.
A former Imperial student. We kind of, between the 2 of them, we've done Han Solo.
We have.
That's cool. Like it. We are definitely playing the wrong game right now.
Yep.
Okay, so we then go. So we've created our identity. So we now go to our theme. And we have some suggested themes here. So, ambition, anger, belonging, doubt, duty, guilt, hope, justice, mercy, or vengeance. What type of theme? What are we going to do? Okay.
Roll a d10, random.
Okay, hang on. Oh, that's the d10. There you go. That one will do. Okay. D10, here we go. Are we going to be the Imperial student or are we going to be the smuggler?
Oh, I mean, you can combine them because it says up to one or two, right? So.
Well, we got a 4. 1, 2, 3. Doubt. You need to find the answer to a burning question.
Oh no.
All right. Okay. Okay. So we then have to create our origin. Where does our character come from? And that could be somewhere on the map. It could be a town or a city or maybe a little village. So we can just add that. Then it moves on to... Oh, I've gone too far. Yeah. Hang on. There we go. Choosing 2 or 3 starting classes. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on that as we go through the different character classes. But we then move on to determining the base size of our attributes. So choose one of the following profiles for your hero, then distribute the corresponding die sizes and 1 to 4 attributes. So jack of all trades, average, or specialized. And again, more examples, which is helpful. And that's quite good, that, isn't it? It's nice and easy. I thought it might have been a little bit more complex than that, but no, that's quite easy. Calculating your hit points and mind points and your inventory points. And as we explained at the beginning, purchasing equipment. And you got some savings. And then, of course, yes, it goes through all of your basic weapons, basic armor and shields. And then ultimately, we finish off with a name and some finishing touches. So we've got a whole variety of names just to help us along. Of course, you can choose a name as you see fit. And then again, more examples. Here are some classic characters.
Do you want to be called Almond?
Almond?
Yeah, that's one of the name choices.
Almond? Well, why not? Why
that's
not?
That's great.
Yeah. Or you could blanched almond.
Yeah.
You could be blanched almond.
Oh my gosh.
So this is cool. It's given us some examples of classic characters. So if you're having a little bit of difficulty, this is a great way to sort of guide you through. I, of course, would be the ranger on the next page. But then, so we do have different character classes. And this is where it goes into a bit more detail. And this is where we have different skills to the actual character class. And this is where you've got to spend a little time going through this to make sure you get the correct type of character you want, because not all character classes are made equal. In fact, some of these character classes have lots and lots of additional information. More so than others. So this is the Arcanist, who could be the Avatar, the Chosen, a Summoner. They have various Arcanist skills. And then we have different... I've gone across page, different spells here, which is quite a few for you to go through. Again, I found this interesting to read through these to sort of get a grip, because of course these will cover all of the different types of characters, and there's quite a variety. So the Chimerist is a druid, shapeshifter, wild mage. Stop laughing. We then have... See, so there you go. This wild mage, literally, it's just 2 pages. So whereas the Arcanist has 6 pages, they just have 2. So you probably do want to work with your fellow players just to get a good mix within the group. So the Dark Blade could be maybe the Black Knight or the Death Knight. We then have an Elementalist, which again, we have a lot of spells to go through, but only 2 pages. We then have an Entropist, an Astromancer, a Chaos Mage, or a Gambler. I'm assuming that you've obviously already gone through these and you've chosen a character class that you prefer, yeah?
I have indeed.
Okay, so we need to decide what you might have gone for. Fury, who might be a berserker or a brawler or a Viking. It'll be all about punching her way out. We got the Guardian, might be a paladin or a soldier. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is maybe a Lawmaster, an Archivist, a sage or a scholar. And again, I'm loving all the artwork on this. An Orator, maybe an ambassador, diplomat, or entertainer. Oh, a rogue, a bandit, a ninja, or a thief. Oh, I'm actually thinking you might have gone for rogue, but we'll see. Sharpshooter, the archer, or a sniper. The Spiritist is a healer, a priest, or a witch. Oh, hang on, you said you liked the witch, didn't you? Ah.
I did.
Yeah, and the Spiritist has a selection, too far, of spells. We then have the Tinkerer. Could be an alchemist, or a mechanic, or an engineer. And the Tinkerer is able to create inventions. And there is lots of things. Oh, there we go. And then we have the Wayfarer, who's an adventurer or a treasure hunter, who gets a pet dragon. Who doesn't want a pet dragon?
That's not a dragon.
It is. Well, or maybe
it's not. It's like a hawk.
Yeah, okay.
It's a bird. It's very clearly a bird.
Is that a bird? Is that a bird?
It is a bird.
Okay. A weapon master who could be a fighter or a warrior. All right, so there we go. I think you might have gone for... Oh. I'm gonna say the rogue.
Nope.
No? Fury.
Witch.
The witch. You went for the witch.
The witch.
The
yes,
witch.
I did.
Of course you went for the witch. So that's the
Turn me
spiritualist.
into a newt.
So you went for the spiritualist. Yep. Yep, no, I can see that. And I don't think that's something that actually we've certainly not come across it so far, but the character depictions, because I'm assuming that this spiritist is not necessarily human, given that they have cat-like ears and a big bushy tail. So I don't think we didn't see anything in the character creation as far as a race. So I think that's just for your own interpretation. You can make yourself into kind of whatever you like, which is quite cool. Again, I suppose it's not that important in the grand scheme of how the game plays. Okay.
Well, and for what this is, you expect that kind of look from them. You know what I mean? For that type of video game and that, right, style?
No, that's quite right, isn't it? Okay, and so we have the prologue, which is how the story begins, and of course it's how our characters are brought together, which we were talking about seekers, weren't we? So here we go. Shall we roll a dice and see what we get?
Yes, invite the chaos.
Okay, let's do that. So roll d6. Let's see what we get. A 3. You thought this place could serve as a safe haven and reveal your next destination, but it has been horribly tainted. You must escape. What is this place? What dark force corrupted it? Was it a trap? It's a trap! We have definitely gone down the Star Wars route here. A dark force.
Yup. We're playing the wrong game. We definitely are.
Fantastic. Okay. And we get experience and levels. So it keeps on going through. We've got heroic skills. And then pretty much we get to the fourth section, which is now for the Games Master. And again, I really appreciated this. No one is born a GM. The level of sort of understanding of new players and potential new GMs is so refreshing within this game, on how it's so welcoming to each. And of course this section just goes through everything that you would need to consider as a GM, setting up your game, setting up the main villain, what do you need to be considering in that initial session. I just found this very helpful. And also, let me just jump to it here. This section here is all about the character classes. So as the GM, you have an understanding of what the strengths and weaknesses are of your actual players, and so that you can tailor the game to the specific characters that they have created, which again I thought was quite cool.
That's really handy, especially because if the party is balanced towards one style over the other, so maybe they're more thinkers versus fighters, or fighters versus thinkers, you're not putting them up against puzzles and stuff like that they're not going to be able to think their way out of.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So, and that's what I have kind of taken from this whole reading through the book, is that it is a collaborative experience between the games master and the players. You're working together to create a game environment that you both enjoy participating in from your different sides. And as you rightly say, there's no point. No one's going to have any fun if they have all kitted themselves out for a big scrap. And everything is thinky, magic-orientated puzzles for them to try and decipher. Yeah, so no, that's very clever. So it talks about the villains, and again, this was something that I thought was quite interesting. In how the villains play, is that you can actually have the villains, when you're fighting against the main antagonist, you can knock down their health points and actually, if it serves the purpose of the game, have the adversary regenerate into their sort of final boss form. Or maybe they flee, which gives then the players an opportunity to level up a few steps more before the final encounter. So again, taking those elements from the video games and incorporating them in, which is quite cool. It talks a little bit about dungeons. Prepared and improvised. So, talking about actually preparing a dungeon and actually having it set out as a variety of different scenes. But then sometimes you just need to be able to jump on into a dungeon because it's just been discovered. So we do have some more tables. And let's find out what our dungeon is going to be.
Oh, let's do this.
Okay, so here we go. So this is a quick on-the-fly dungeon. We have our dungeon concept. Rolling a d20. Let's find out. So our adventurers, it's a 6, have found... Oh my goodness, they have found a lost city. Yeah.
Of course they have.
In your fantasy kingdom, which has the hidden city of a civilization underneath, we have found it. Okay, what is the focal element of our lost city? With our smuggler who's going on in, a charming smuggler. It's a 10. A powerful witch or wizard is to be found in our lost city. Is that you? Are you mystical? Are you in the lost city?
I apparently am. Yeah, I've somehow fell through the donut hole and just landed here.
So we now need to find out about the population in this dungeon. What is it? Let's find out. What's that? That is a 4. Scholars and researchers. This is all working out so amazingly. Okay.
So well. Oh my gosh.
We then finally have the quirk. What is the quirk of this particular dungeon? This lost city that has
I hope you roll an 11.
Powerful witch at its center, surrounded by scholars and researchers. What is the quirk? 10. Tombs and catacombs.
I think that works too.
So maybe what's happened is that, as much as it's said that we had scholars and researchers, maybe they're all dead. They're all dead. Maybe she's siphoning the power from them.
Or the powerful witch is actually a necromancer, and she's brought them back.
Okay. Yep.
To find some sort of secret that she's looking for in this, but needed other people, but didn't trust anyone else, so brings back the dead that were here to find these secrets for her.
Oh my goodness. Roger in the chat, is that one with the Force? Because if we look at this in a different way, there's a lost city with a powerful wizard who is surrounded by researchers and it's catacombs. Is this the end of Rise of Skywalker?
We're trying not to play that game.
We're trying not to. We honestly didn't intend this to become JRPG Star Wars, but you know, given Star Wars is a massive Eastern influence, it's just happened, hasn't it? Wow. Okay.
Too good.
Okay, so obviously when we get to the end of our dungeon, there's got to be a reward, hasn't there? So we've got some pages on the rewards and designing rare items, because we all like nice shiny loot. And of course this is what the players are really after, aren't they? Yeah. So again, we have another chart here of rare arcane weapons, rare bows, and in fact there's just pages and pages of this, all these different weapons you can pick up. Again, all wonderfully done in that 16-bit style. In fact, there's quite a few pages. So we'll just we'll skip, and yeah, there's all the armor, there's accessories. Oh my goodness, yeah, there's a lot, isn't there? Artifacts. So these are things that you can give to your character, and then it goes into designing battles. So of course, if we are going to have battles, then we ultimately need adversaries. We need to have beasts. We can design NPCs. So we can have our towns and villages populated, but we're just going to skip. Oh, and we need, of course, to design bosses. So we'll have those as well. But ultimately, let's jump to the bestiary at the end, and again this absolutely is designed in a similar format to those guides that you used to get from your video game store, with all the hints and tips on how to defeat the different monsters you might face, which it's all very cool. So there's a whole variety there. Again, all nicely put into different classes. So we got some demons, we got some elementals. We have some humanoids. And that's pretty much it. We get to the end, and then right at the very end, which again I thought was good, is inspirational works. And here we go, a whole host of video games that you may or may not have played, which of course, you know, if you want to get into the idea of it, you could watch some videos on YouTube, couldn't you, to get a good idea of how they look, their sort of style. So there you go. That is Fabula Ultima, TTJ RPG from Need Games. I think you enjoyed reading through this one, didn't you? Yeah.
I did, yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun game to actually play. It's something that I think we could actually do on the channel relatively easy because of those sort of scene cards. We can sort of present the game. We can roll up some characters, and yes, I think we could do a little bit of exploring and do some combat, and maybe go into a dungeon or two. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Go on,
sorry.
If you look through the the inspirational works and like the other works where it's not the video games, TV shows and stuff. Star Wars is one of the influences.
Yes, it is. Yes. Well, it can't not be included, can it? Because yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. So, a strange and bizarre series of roles led us down the Star Wars path.
Yeah.
That's quite funny. Yes, so I believe that the game is in a promotion at the moment on Drive-Thru RPG. There is a Games Master screen that is being developed at the moment. So this is an Italian publisher, and they are doing the English version of the Games Master screen currently. And then they are also releasing expansion books to go along in the different styles of Kingdom. They've already released one in Italian. They again are working on an English version. I believe that is going to be available in the later part of this year, maybe September, October time, something like that. I'm certainly going to hopefully be checking that out, because I would hope by that point that we've actually played a game, or at least experienced a little bit of the game, so we'll understand how that sort of fits in. But I believe they are going to be doing multiple books for the different types of kingdoms. Now, one thing that is very, very cool is this game is actually up for 2 awards at this year's Ennies. Ennies, of course, are the Tabletop Roleplaying Game awards that are done each year. We have had several Ennie award-winning games on the channel, quite a few of them from Free League Publishing. Fabula Ultima is up for, I believe, its best product. And there's another one. I did put a note in on the YouTube channel description. There is a link there. So if you liked what you saw, and if you've been already playing it and enjoy it, then leave them a vote. And yeah, we will see how they do when the winners are announced. But it certainly had my vote, so there we go. Right, I think that's probably wraps it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So you're going to be joining me on Thursday for a game.
Yes.
We're going to be playing a Books of Time from Board and Dice. Looking forward to that. I will be setting it up tomorrow because there's quite a bit to do in the setup. It's a very physical game, but I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So that's our game for Thursday. Okay, well, thanks for joining us. Have a good rest of your evening, and we'll see you then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye now. Okay, so our thanks to Mystical for joining in on tonight's deep dive of Fabula Ultima, the TTJ RPG from Need Games. Hope you enjoyed taking a look. Hope you maybe might want to consider going and checking out the game yourself. But that was a lot of fun, and I am very much looking forward to having a game with you guys on the channel in the near future. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you will join us on Thursday night for a bit of board gaming on the table here. But until then, bye for now.